Hello and welcome. Winter 2024. I know with seasons that were as jam-packed as the fall was, this may make this current season of anime look weaker by comparison, but to me this just makes all the anime of this season exciting in their own right. Instead of getting all the colossal hits that we had last season and what looks to be coming for the spring season, we have a whole bunch of hidden gems. So I still think it's fun to go over the great anime of the season, which is why my weebs, degenerates, and femboys alike, you should join me as I continue my journey to discover the perfect anime. Villainess Level 99, I may be the hidden boss, but I'm not the demon lord, is another Otome Villainess Isekai. And if you think we've gotten too many of these already, well, too bad. That isn't stopping how many normal isekai we get anyways. And fortunately, this anime is pretty high quality. Okay, the anime overall is, not necessarily the quality of the CGI dragons, but look, these are so awkward and terrible that I think we've entered kamikatsu territory here. Every time our pet dragon tries to eat somebody, it always manages to be hilarious. But when you're given an isekai where the MC is completely overpowered, you can do one of two things with it. Either just have them steamroll through everything and turn the anime into a brain-dead ride, or have fun with it. And I'm glad that Villainess Level 99 does the latter. Yumilia might be strong enough to fight the sun, but she doesn't seem to understand how she looks to the rest of the class. I mean, how would you feel if in high school you sat right next to God himself? Oh yeah, and the first episode follows a completely different character for half of the runtime, culminating in her own OP and character introduction, which is exactly what I've done for this video. 7th Time Loop. The villainess enjoys a carefree life married to her worst enemy is another villainess anime. Here though, Rouge has already been killed several times before, and each time is sent back to what was the most traumatizing moment of her life, when her former fiance broke off their engagement in front of a large audience. However, I love how she treats us now. What was originally a brutal moment for her has become relatively routine by her 3rd or 4th time loop. Rouge, I'm going to tell everyone how awful you are. Yeah, cool, thanks, bye. Each of her past lives ended at only 5 years, with her 6th ending after being killed off by the Emperor of Galkine, only for her to begin her 7th and almost immediately become his new fiancé. Now, I'm sure most people would react like rude-ass Grey Rat upon meeting the very same person who killed you already, and to Rouge's credit, she kinda does. She accepts his proposition, but only if she's allowed to live her life by her own terms. This anime does a great job portraying Arnold, her fiancé, as a ruthless man to those who don't know him, but when you get to know him, he's really not a bad guy.
He was the best guy around.
What about the people he murdered?
What murder?
Also, this anime is just overall fantastic. Like, I was hooked from the get-go. You'd think normally an anime like this wouldn't get the love and attention that this one has received, but look at how the Empire's capital looks in episode 1. Most isekai would just make this a circle town, call it a day, and clock out by 3. And I'm no fantasy urban development specialist, but man, they put a lot of care into the presentation here. Rouge is beautiful too, and such a compelling protagonist. Her past lives weren't just for a narrative device. She's an expert negotiator because of her experience living as a merchant. She excels in choosing the right maids as her experience of living as one, and she knows how to make medicine because she watched the Apothecary Diaries. The way that she gets to learn more about Arnold and his past, and the way he learns more about what an amazing person she is gradual but well-paced, with their dance in episode 3 being an excellent highlight and one of my favorite moments in all of anime this year so far. I'm loving this series, easily an S tier, and honestly I'm tempted to rank it higher. Oh, and Villainess Level 99 is an A tier. Solo Leveling is an anime that you might be watching because you're a fan of the manhwa, but I am watching this because the music is done by none other than this anime is about Sung Jin-woo.
But the correct Korean pronunciation does not have the W sound in it, so it is not Jin-woo, it is Jin-woo.
Sung Jin-woo, and his journey from designated cannon fodder to shonen MC with only one weird trick. You see, while there are those out there who are refining their craft, knowing that they can never rise above the rankings they're given, but would rather excel at what they have, Song is the only hunter around able to improve his power over time by completing his Genshin Impact dailies that involve touching grass and uninstalling Genshin Impact. A true gamer, because he is the only one solo leveling. He was once known as the weakest hunter in the world. He couldn't buy shoes, he was being wiped by tutorial level enemies. He didn't shop at Lonely Mart because he didn't have any money. And now that we're pretty deep into the series, it's clear that this is another power fantasy anime. Nothing wrong with that though. I highly doubt that this is going to be anyone's all-time favorite anime, and if it is, then may I recommend watching a second anime? But A1 is my favorite anime studio, and I am really impressed with what they've been cooking up with this series. What mattered most was getting the action down right, and they've nailed it. If there's any problem that I have with this series, is that most of the other characters that we see don't seem to be very useful. However, I guess that's my fault for expecting anything else, since after all, it's called solo leveling, and really I'm having way too much fun watching this. S tier. Delicious in Dungeon is an anime that I'm also putting into S tier. Now, you might say, action first. What are you, some sort of Trigger simp? Well, here's the secret. I am. And if Trigger are going to keep animated shows I like, then why would I ever stop simping? I've talked about this anime in more detail with my previous video, but what I've been impressed with the most in this series is the world building and how all the monsters they fight and then eat are clearly part of a thriving ecosystem. In other words, I love this anime because it's giving me more ideas for my next D&D campaign. Also, the OP for this series has actually grown on me a lot since the start. It reminds me of an overworld theme you'd hear in a JRPG from the mid-90s.
Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis. When I was dead broke, man, I couldn't picture this.
Chained Soldier was without a doubt my most anticipated new anime of the season. I'm a big fan of the manga, and the anime was announced actually a good while ago, so we've had plenty of time to build it up, and before I go any further, I would just like to say that this is a good anime. However, there's a key problem overall with this anime, and that is it definitely doesn't reach the potential and expectations set by the manga. Look, I'm still enjoying the series a lot, so it's an A tier, and the soundtrack kicks ass. But there are 3 ecchi anime streaming uncensored in this tier list, and Chained Soldier should have easily been the best one. This had the potential to be the new High School DxD, but as it is, I don't regret watching it. I'm just a little upset that it could have been so much better. That being said, we're still introduced to a wide variety of great female characters that, depending on your personality, you might already have a favorite picked out based on their characteristics. For instance, your favorite might be Alba if you're Lance from Mashle. Hey, speaking of which, Mashle is back with the Divine Visionary Candidate Exam arc, and while I enjoyed the first season, I didn't exactly think it was anything too special. And going into this, I was worried that the whole joke of him pretending to be magical when he's just too strong for magic would get a bit old. Fortunately, it's established early on that everyone knows he's not magical, so they reach the logical conclusion. He must die. Honestly, he doesn't even seem that fazed by it. Mashle is a weird anime. You might think this would be a magic-centered battle shonen with a tournament arc this season. Nah, Mashle is a sports anime. Half of the fun is just seeing how Mash flexes his way through dealing with the magic users around him, and the other half of the fun is that this OP slaps. You don't need me telling you that. I'm sure you're very well acquainted with it already. Mashle is an A tier, and I'm just glad we've got A1 Saturdays back. I really enjoyed getting our double dose of A1 pictures back in summer 2022, so glad that things are working out for them. Gushing over magical girls has only one correct way to watch it, and that's on your largest monitor. There's only one type of anime watcher who would enjoy this, and that type is me. Utena is a massive fan of magical girls until one day when this little Banished shows up and turns her into her own magical girl to hunt down and torture the other magical girls as a villain. I'm gonna be honest with you, I can't show much of this anime on YouTube. It's amongst the most down bad anime I've ever watched, but I have a philosophy, and that's if you're gonna do something that could be the wildest idea out there, then you might as well just go all the way. And the studio involved, Asahi Production, clearly put a lot of effort and love into this series. They're as committed to making this as I am to watching it. The plot here is actually way better than you'd think. Utena doesn't even want to be a villain. She's such a massive fan of Trace Magia, the magical girls she's forced to fight, and idolizes them. She'll rightfully defend them even if that means fighting against the other villains who reside in their brutalist architecture. She may be a massive weeb and amongst the horniest anime characters you've ever seen, but behind the curtains of what's the most degenerate anime that we've received since My Life as Inukai-san's Dog is a story of girls just learning to love themselves and each other. Literally. I'm actually impressed with how good this anime is. I thought this would just get a few chuckles out of me, but when you get down to it, this is a slice of life featuring quirky girls who just need to learn how to become friends with one another. Perhaps the real gushing was the feelings in our heart. I'm shocked I'm about to say this, but what I expected from Chain Soldier, I'm getting from this anime instead, to where I think that this is an anime that this season and the ecchi genre as a whole will be remembered by. So yeah, I don't have any reason not to put this in the tier that it belongs, which is God tier. Yeah, I ranked it higher than Solo Leveling. Can't wait to see the comments. A Sign of Affection proves that romance anime can still have great animation to it. No, seriously, the hand movements in this series are expertly made, and that's important since the main character, Yuki, is deaf. I have to hand it to this anime to not only have an older cast of characters than your typical romance anime with them all being college kids, but they actually act like college kids. And I feel like I should address something now. I don't think that Itsuomi, the romantic interest, is creepy or pushes boundaries like I've seen some discourse on. He recognizes Yuki's feelings and what she's comfortable with and never pushes her. Plus, I can see why Yuki fell for this guy hard. He's a genuinely caring person who goes out of his way to learn more about her and even studies sign language so he can better communicate. I'm really impressed with the series. The romance is properly built up and doesn't waste any time. The characters are likable. Well, maybe not Yuki's childhood friend, but he's not the love interest.
You're not that guy.
And it's really pretty to look at. I genuinely can recommend this anime to just about anybody, and it brings a smile to my face every episode. Yeah, this is an S tier. Classroom of the Elite is back for a third season of Where Are Your Parents? I enjoy this anime, but I have to admit that this is a ridiculous setting. I understand the desire to have people compete to be the best, but with this season, the threat of expulsion is higher than ever, and is treated like being sentenced to the gallows. Now, I have browsed my fair share of Reddit in my time, and in doing so, I've learned that the light novels are generally considered far superior to the anime. But I'm still willing to put this into A tier. It's cheesy when you think about it and takes itself way too seriously, but Ayano Koji is a compelling protag. He really doesn't have any strong feelings towards any of his classmates, but over time, I guess he does warm up to them. Maybe. Probably not. But hey, if you're a fan of power fantasies or mind games, then who am I kidding? You're already watching this or reading the light novels, I imagine. That being said, I think you're wondering who I would pick for best girl in the series. And it's Kay. The Apothecary Diaries is a fitting title for the series because Mao Mao, the main character, do be apothecarying this show. I enjoy this anime a lot, and I've seen a lot of people consider it as amongst the best anime for all of 2023, and I could definitely see it, but I think it's still an S tier. A high S tier, don't get me wrong, but I think a major reason why is because Mao Mao is such a great character that she almost overshadows the rest of the show. She's not the only great character, this anime wouldn't be the same without Jinshi too, but man, I call the Apothecary Diaries Saturday Mao Mao Hour. Her decisive nature, inquisitive outlook, and passion for her interests just makes this show so great to watch. I hope we get 10 more seasons of the Apothecary Diaries, or however many we need for a complete adaptation. High Card Season 2 continues one of the most underrated and slept on anime of recent memory. I really enjoyed the first season and even made a video review of it, and I'm a bit taken aback by the second season here. Don't get me wrong, it's still really fun, but it's a bit more tonally serious than the first season was. The first season had a lot more hype moments showing off the cool abilities that the cards can do, but here we learn much more about the history of the king, Forland, the cards, and Finn. It's still kind of weird how VJ is the only one of the main characters to not have an episode entirely dedicated to him, but overall, I still highly recommend this series. It also has such a unique art style to it. It doesn't look like most other anime. At first glance, it almost comes off like a Western animated show, which is how I'm coping that I haven't watched Invincible Season 2 yet. I'm shocked at how few people are talking about this series. It's not going to be one of the greatest anime you've ever watched, but you'll have a lot of fun in doing so. A tier. Shangri-La Frontier continues from the fall, and I'll be completely honest, I was totally ready to put this back into A tier again. It's a solid anime, the production is great, the characters are very entertaining, and the game they play looks so much fun, I just want to play it myself. But I didn't think there was much here to truly stand out for me. That is until the Weathermon fight, because holy cow, this takes up a good chunk of this core and is an utter ride all the way through. For 3 straight episodes, they don't change locations, but you don't even notice because of how amazing this fight is. The Weathermon fight is more than enough to push this into S tier territory, and there's probably going to be a lot more Shangri-La Frontier to come, which I am in favor of. It's not an anime that's going to wow you with plot twists or deep character development, but C2C Studio knows exactly what kind of anime they wanted to make, and they knocked it out of the park. Tales of Wedding Rings is a perfect anime to watch if you really hate the pacing of older romance anime. The entire romance plot wraps up in the very first episode. The childhood crush makes breakfast for the MC, they're in school together, they go to the summer festival and he gets cucked by the fireworks. Then he gets isekai'd, she marries him, then they fight a gargoyle. In most romance anime, this would all take place in like season 3. At first glance, I saw this as another ecchi isekai harem anime, but perhaps Crunchyroll saw High Dive getting 2 uncensored ecchi anime this season, and said, alright, bet, we can do that. Because I'm getting whiplash that we have 3 anime this season, all mega horny and all uncensored. Fun fact, this anime is made by the same studio as Vermeil and Gold, which is another down bad anime that I actually really enjoyed. I'm in favor of that one getting a 2nd season, by the way. As a fine trash enjoyer myself, I'm definitely enjoying this anime, but I do have a bone to pick with the MC, Sato. All of his wives want to take their relationship with him to the next level, they've given him the green light, and he's expressed that he wants to do the same. Even his first wife, who's his childhood friend, wants to have sex with the guy, and his reaction is that he'll do so when they're back in Japan. Buddy, you're in a world where your magic powers as the Ring King are directly linked to how close of a bond you have with your wives. Why would you wait until after you've defeated the final boss of this world, and it's shown that the Abyss King is way too powerful for them this early on? You and your wives are all on the same page and want the same thing, so why do you keep letting them down? I don't understand. Overall, I'm still enjoying this series a lot actually, and the supporting character of Mars is excellent. Most princes in an anime like this would see the MC stealing their bride-to-be and swear to be their enemy. But Mars immediately joins his side as his best friend, giving him his full support. Despite how fun this anime can be, I can't overlook the annoying stubbornness of Sato. And if I'll be completely honest, the animation is just okay, so it comes out to, B tier. Hokkaido Gals are super adorable is the best propaganda I've seen for the Japanese tourism industry. Not even kidding, half of the anime is just showing off cool places and snacks you'd find in Hokkaido. And you know what? It's working. I've been to Japan before and I can't wait to go again, and all this anime makes me think of is where I'd like to go next. This anime is the epitome of this meme I found. But I'm willing to let that slide, because all a mortal needs in life is a Genki Gyaru mother. I'm tempted to put this anime in God tier for that alone. But oh yeah, there's also a rom-com here too. I don't have any complaints with Tsubasa or Fuyuki, the main duo, but most of the time their relationship takes a backseat to the setting or the other girls. I'm not sure overall how this is going to compare with other rom-coms we'll get throughout the year, but I'm enjoying it well enough to still give it an A tier. Fuyuki's pretty cute even if her mother is better, but I'm not the main character. He can make his own decisions. All I'm going to say is you better take care of her, Tsubasa. You two have a bright future ahead of yourselves. Metallic Rouge is a celebration of Studio Bones' 25th anniversary. And I know that because it was all over the marketing for this anime. And hey, I'm glad it's working out for them. You know what happened when I was 25? A global pandemic! So it can always be worse. But oh yeah, there's an anime here, and I'll be honest with you, that's kinda how I'm feeling about it. It's not a bad anime. I think a series like this would have benefited greatly from being 2 cours, or at least a little longer though. It starts off as a buddy cop duo going on road trips, and then almost immediately it's anything but. This anime manages to not explain the world building or plot very well until all of a sudden giving you info dump after info dump. There's a good anime in here. I think it would probably be best if you watch the entire series in one go after it's done, but I'm still feeling rather mixed on it. The saving grace though is without a doubt the animation and action. It's incredibly well done, even if I don't always know who all the characters fighting are, or even if they know why they're fighting. I think this anime balances out to be about a B tier for me, but if you're a fan of sci-fi or a real big fan of Studio Bones, I think it's definitely worth a watch. The wrong way to use healing magic might seem like just another seasonal isekai, but it's actually pretty good. Usato here isn't even supposed to have been isekai'd in the first place. He just happened to be caught up in the summoning spell and, you know, might as well just go along with it. He and his classmates find out which magic they're best attuned to, and after discovering that he's meant to be a healer, the king of the land that summoned them tries to hide this info so he doesn't get put through the gauntlet. So he gets put through the gauntlet anyway. I have to say, between this and Tales of Wedding Rings, it's nice seeing royalty in an isekai world be a bit more understanding and supportive. The king has the best interests of Usato and his friends at heart, aside from, you know, kidnapping them, but nobody's perfect. But hey, the hell training that Captain Rose puts Usato through makes perfect sense to me. If he could just heal all his wounds, then a healer could be trained to be a perfect fighter. You just win any battle of attrition. I really like this concept, and even though it's a seasonal isekai, it doesn't go down the general power fantasy or harem route you'd expect. Usato takes his job seriously, and more than anything wants to protect his friends, who in turn want to protect him. It's a really solid anime. A tier. Undead Unluck is another anime that I already ranked in the previous tier list, but now that the story has had more time to develop itself, good lord are there so many twists thrown at you. Anything seems to go in this world, any ability can happen, and seemingly anything can be logical here. Heck, in one episode they just straight up go to the publisher of the manga of the series. They don't even change the name, it's just right there. And this is all done and played seriously without ever breaking the fourth wall in a way that fits into the story. What I originally expected to be another fun battle shonen has had so much incredible world building, character development, and really unique abilities that I don't think there's any other anime you can compare it to. It's so entertaining but still knows when to really pull at your heartstrings. So good job both Shangri-La Frontier and Undead Unluck. You both went from being pretty fun anime to being legitimately great shows, even for entirely different reasons. However, it's now time that I reveal to you that I've been a negator this entire time named Unranked, and therefore I can't give Undead Unluck a ranking. But I can rank Banished from the Heroes Party Season 2, and it's A tier. This isn't an anime that'll ever blow you away. It doesn't have the greatest fight scenes or animation, or stand out in most ways from other fantasy anime. I do like the blessing system to its world building, even if that ends up backfiring, like with the hero who's present in much of this season. He's the biggest asshole I've ever seen, but hey, I can watch Rudy punch his shit in again and again. This scene alone is worth its own ranking. But I wouldn't say that is the main selling point of this series, as that would be the relationship between Red and Rit, as well as any scene that happens to have Mr. Crawley Wally. But anyways, these two are just so much fun to watch. I know this is primarily a fantasy anime, but it has one of the most organic, genuine, and beautiful romances between the main two I've ever seen. And that's partly due to the fact that they're an adult couple. They act like adults. There aren't any mixed feelings or misunderstandings here. They go on dates, care for one another, open up their feelings, and have sex like a normal, healthy couple would. Hey Sato, you watching this? It's not an anime that'll be anything too special, but that's okay. This is an anime that just makes you feel warm inside. Frieren Beyond Journey's End is a masterpiece. You know it, I know it, everyone knows it by now, and this is the 4th video all of me this year where I praise the series. And yet, there are still new things I can talk about, like with how the best fight scene in the anime occurs this late into its run, how great all the new characters introduced this core are, or how the animators are all truly cultured individuals. I've brought this up so many times, but it is wild to me that months into its run, Frieren is still at number 1 on Mal, and the ranking has only risen. We've been spoiled having incredible episode after incredible episode since way back in October. And I'm not going to lie, it feels pretty empty now that we've finished this season. But what a journey we've been through, and I have no doubt that Frieren will have a major lasting impact on us all. But if I'm going to be honest, I don't think that Frieren is the best anime of the season, as The Dangers in My Heart Season 2 continues one of the genuinely greatest anime I've ever seen in my life. I was pretty big on the first season. I ranked it as the 2nd best anime of all of last year. And even though it's not even April yet, I think I've already found what will likely be the best anime of this year. I considered multiple times making a video for this anime alone, and if I did, it would just be 10+ minutes of me raving about how much I love this series. Kyotaro and Anna are perfect for each other. If you're put off by the cringy beginning of this anime, please understand that it's essential for Kyotaro as well as Anna's development. The Dangers in My Heart is all about how in order to love someone else, you first need to love yourself, which is something that both Kyotaro and Anna learn throughout. Their feelings are expressed for one another in so many ways, even without outright confessing. Plus, with this season, we get to learn more about Anna's past, her job, and how she views Kyotaro. If there's anything I want people to take from this tier list, is that this is the real deal here, and reaffirms my love for the romance genre every episode. This is not an anime recommendation, this is an anime mandate. It's a god tier without a doubt, and I'm worried that that isn't even a high enough ranking for it. The Dangers in My Heart is already probably in my top 5 of anime ever, maybe higher. I can't praise how much I love the series enough, and it brings us one step closer to finding the perfect anime. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, then be sure to sub Gushing for more magical girls. This season ended up being a lot better than I originally thought it was going to be, and the next season is looking pretty exciting too. So I can't wait to see what anime managed to impress us coming soon, and I've got plenty of more great videos coming out in the near future. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.